tabungan yang 100% dilakukan secara online. Download aplikasi SIMOBI Plus. Registrasi dan verifikasi data diri secara lengkap. Terus tinggal selfie deh. Banyak keuntungan menariknya loh. Lebih mudah, lebih pintar dengan SIMOBI Plus. Download sekarang. Bank Sinar Mas, biasakan sekarang, luar biasa nanti.
Vitamin C 1000 Total Care. Kini dengan buffer vitamin C 1000 mg, vitamin D3 dan zinc bantu jaga daya tahan tubuh. Sekarang ada Hemaviton C 1000 less sugar dengan kalori lebih rendah. Boost immune, stay fit, stay active. Hemaviton C 1000 Total Care.
Plus, siap menggantikan cairan tubuh yang hilang dengan 7 ion lengkap mudah diserap dari Wings Food.
Aku cinta mie sedap ayam bakar limau baru. Sedapnya next level.
Virus kuman bakteri cepat menyebar. Baru, Wis 24 Disinfektan dengan Actigar bunuh kuman bakteri jamur. Wis 24 Disinfecting Spray and Clean. Wis 24 Disinfektan Spray Surface and Air. Baru, Wis 24.
LJ Logistik memiliki 7 layanan dan coverage area LJ Logistik di seluruh Indonesia. LJ Logistik, we are faster and better.
Dipersembahkan oleh Asuransi Jasa Indonesia.
Alfamart, belanja puas, harga
Bimbel spesialis matematika fisika kimia, Sinotif tempatnya.
Kami memperkenalkan Toyota Finance. Love, make it yours.
Kamu bisa buka tabungan yang 100
Okay, hello everyone. Welcome for the fight for third place for Canisius College CUP English debate competition. So yeah, first of all, I would like to congratulate all of the participants who have made it up till this point. So yeah, give a round of applause for everyone. Okay, now, first of all, let us do a roll call. Is SMA Regina Pacis Bogor B here?
Here, complete. Here.
And is SMAK 1 Penabur Jakarta A here?
Here and complete.
Okay, since everyone's here, before we start with the motion launch, I would like to first thank our sponsors for their generous offer and help, who without their support, this competition would never be possible. I would like to give a shout out and many thanks to PT Sayap Mas Utama, Sinarmas, Jas Indo, Howden, PT Eurocars Motor Indonesia, PT Tempo Scan Pacific Tbk, Binus Universitas, RS Premier, PT Lestari Jaya Raya, PT Adi Sarana Armada Tbk, PT Kurnia Mitra Duta Sentosa Tbk, PT Sumber Alvaria Trijaya Tbk, Milan Seramik, PT Surya Tata Alam Raya, PT Supra Primatama Nusantara Bisnet, UOB Trophy Fish, PT Beton Pracetak Karton, QT Sense, Hot Dog Boy, Indo Semen, PT SBA, Scientist Education, C Notif, PT TOS Omega Selaras, PT Santini Luansa Lestari, TAF, PT Multisarana Medika, Sheraton Belitung Resort, BCA, dan PT PGAS Solution. Once again, I would like to thank our generous sponsors for the help so that this competition could run smoothly. Now, I will continue this event by giving it to the CA. Please.
Okay, thank you, Macario. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the third place round. So I'll do the share screen in a little bit. Oh yeah, before we proceed, I would like to remind you guys, because this is a round to determine who will get the third place. Then after the debate, there will be no announcement in regards to who wins the debate. The announcement will be made in the closing ceremony alongside with the best speakers and also the winners. So yeah, committee, can you confirm after the debate, should they just leave the Zoom or should they return back to the main room?
After debate, please return to the main room for a small announcement. Thank you.
Okay, great. Okay, hi everyone. So welcome to the third place round. In this round, we're going to talk about what is love. We're going to talk about love. We're going to talk about relationship. There is no context slide. The motion for this round reads, this house supports the narrative that all relationships should be transactional or mutually beneficial. Is there any question on the wording of the motion? I'll count down from 3, 2, 1. All right, cool. I think everyone is clear on the motion. Good luck, guys. See you in 30 minutes.
Hi, Kak. Sorry, are we going to debate in the breakout room?
Committee, can you please confirm, is it in this room or is it in the breakout room?
In the breakout room.
Guys, don't forget to fill in the speaker roles, yeah. Team opposition, please fill in the speaker roles. All right. Good afternoon, everyone. I am Gaudi, and I will be your chairperson in this debate. The motion of this debate is: this House supports the narrative that all relationships should be transactional or mutually beneficial. Okay. Today, we have team. Today, we have Regina Pacis Bogor as team government and team SMAK 1 as team opposition. In team government, we have Fabian as the Prime Minister, Geraldine as the Deputy Prime Minister, Sharon as the Government Whip, and Geraldine as the Government Reply. While in team opposition, we have Eunice as the leader of opposition, Natasha as the deputy leader of opposition, Agnes as opposition whip, and Eunice as the opposition reply. Now, before we start the debate, please state your POI preference before starting your speech.
Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
For POI through the chat box, I will start my wait. I will start my speech in 3, 2, 1. So when you consent to a relationship, that means you are already consent into a contract of mutually beneficial, benefiting someone. When you only rely on love, then at the end you will be blinded with love. So that's why we support the narrative that all relationships should be transactional. So what we want to achieve, we want to make a healthier and better relationship in this world. Moving to my mechanism, what is mutually beneficial? It means both partners will benefit each other in a way, but then panels, what all should take notes? What we mean by mutually beneficial is not always inherently about materials. This will look like how individuals in the relationship will always benefit each other by giving them the closure they want and directing you into a better person or doing action that fulfills your love language. Now moving to my arguments. Why this narrative is okay? Firstly, when does this narrative come from and why is it accessible to all people? A, this narrative comes from people who has successful relationship. That means that this is a way for people to achieve success in a relationship. First, we do concede it's very subjective when it comes to success in relationship. Firstly, but when also have that subjectivity where mutually beneficial can be subjective also toward people on how they benefit each other, as long as both partner isn't harm but benefit. Secondly, so if opposition tries to say, oh, not everyone can give material benefit to their partner, we said that it's still possible under our side through the subjectivity that still exists. And secondly, we say that the inherent interest of people opting into a relationship is exactly the mutual benefit that they get. How is that so? When you want something serious in your relationship, of course, what you seek is transactional benefit. For example, you give equal time for each other and you give support your partner mentally. Now moving to my practical. Why we give how relationship or on our side of the house will be comparative better than the relationship under your side of the house. Firstly, what is the problem? What is the parameter of a healthy relationship? Panels, we say a healthy relationship exists when first, both parties contribute to each other. And secondly, both parties brings betterment towards each other. And thirdly, both parties can be loyal to one another. Exactly, panels. We say this act of seeking for mutual benefit is something justified. Why is that so? The moment the narrative going through society is how love should always be based on unconditionally. We say that this is harmful. This because you will always justify any toxic behavior coming from your partner by the characterization panels. The manifestation of the toxic behavior could be translated into how instead of your partner giving you the affirming words, oppositely the shame you exactly because you do not fulfill their standard per se. Why is this bad? Firstly, this will only embolden the narrative that staying in a toxic relationship is something okay. And then secondly, you will continuously justify the wrongdoing of your partner exactly because you have been blind attached. That means this will give them the sense of justification, which is going to make you suffer furthermore. And then you cannot opt out from the relationship, yet you are also going to get those harms. And thirdly, this will only lead you into a way worse condition, right? You don't even get the beneficial, yet you are getting the being in the relationship. Shame that to that, and then you when you get in this relationship because there is no benefit even inside of this relationship. Moving to my second argument of practical, even if they are not abusive and toxic, so what? But even if they are not toxic or abusive each other, it's we still think that this is not okay to pride Reynolds. Why is that so? Because notice, panel, you cannot always rely on the spark of love in your relationship. You cannot always ensure that the spark is still there, panels. Notice the moment the spark is no longer available, that will likely to happen is how one of the individuals with their insatiable nature will always find the others that could give them the better spark that they aim for, right? And secondly, this is way harmful exactly because how this contradicts with the idea of or the prerequisite of a healthy relationship. The moment they strive for more, the thirst will only be them being not loyal toward their partner. And thirdly, at least under our side of the house, we better prevent it rather than not on opposition. So in my conclusion, our side is better because we will preventing unhealthy relationship and make the future of this relation become better. So because of that, our side proud to propose.
All right, thank you. Now, I invite the leader of opposition.
First of all, am I audible? Okay. My POI preferences are just unmuting yourselves. And my preferred pronouns are she and her. Please give me some time. Okay, I'll start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panels, unlike government's very radical narrative, which is harmful nonetheless, we as side opposition firmly support the narrative that not all relationships should be transactional. It all depends on the people involved. We support people having freedom, that if they want it to be transactional, then be it. But if you don't, we won't force you to do it otherwise. Now, a few points of clarification. Unlike government's narrow characterization of relationships, which are only like romantic relationships, the motion never stated that it's only romantic relationships, right? There are other relationships, like between a parent and a child, a very young child, a student and a teacher, colleague and colleague, donator to donatee, right? And the aim of relationships, right, is because humans are social beings. Humans need relationships, like it or not, right? Because we cannot live otherwise. Now, point of framing, it's pretty unfair that government side want to characterize transactional and mutually beneficial as to like, oh, romantic relationships between two people, or at least both of them are happy, right? No, because why is this very problematic? Because under their side, they won't even know if it's mutually beneficial. We cannot measure happiness. We cannot measure love. So it's questionable whether it's equal between all parties, because again, we cannot measure it. I think government should play it safe and stick to very tangible terms that people can easily compare, right, and measure, like time and money. And also, I'm going to point out that this kind of transactional, mutually beneficial relationship already exists in status quo, but in very limited measures, right? For example, this looks like a consumer and a businessman. The consumer pays the businessman a certain amount of money, and the businessman gives a product that is worth that set amount of money. And because of this, there is a very, very apparent reason on why we limit those transactional relationships, because there are also other relationships where it cannot be transactional, because those don't cover like familial love between a parent and a child, where the parent sacrifices more than the child, but nonetheless they are still in a relationship. And if you see, like, if you help your grandma like cross the street, you get nothing from it, but the grandma gets some benefit, so it's not mutually beneficial. But this also looks like volunteer work, where you volunteer to help other people. You get nothing from it. You sacrifice your time and your energy, but you don't get anything. You don't get paid anything. Okay, but first of all, a few points of rebuttals. Okay, you can see the government side of the house concedes that all relationships should be beneficial. Now, this is very problematic because government side of the house is neglecting people who never consented to be in a relationship, right? That is to say, like, babies who are born in a family, they never consented to be born. They never consented to offer any benefits to their parents, and yet there they are, and they're in a relationship with their parents. They're completely neglecting those type of people, right? They're only characterizing a romantic relationship between two people. Okay. Now, and also government side said that it's a mutual benefit as long as both people are not harmed. Okay, that means you're contradicting the motion, right? Because in the motion said, right, that it needs to be mutually beneficial. That means in a relationship between like two parties, right? That means party A benefits party B as equally as party B benefits party A. That means you're saying, okay, at least as long as both people under two people under a relationship are both happy, that means you're okay with it. Well, okay, first of all, happiness cannot be measured, and even if kayak even if even if like they're both happy, there's definitely like someone who is more happier than the other, right? That is not mutually beneficial, and that means they're contradicting their own motion, right? And in this speech, I'm going to explain two things. First, why we are going to create better relationships overall under our side, and second of all, where we are going to create better mental health under our side. Now, onto my first argument, better relationships. Now, because of what we want, we don't want all transactions to be beneficial, mutually beneficial, right? That means that people have the freedom to choose who they want in their relationships, right? That is to say, that if the comparative under their side is the comparative under our side, I'm sorry, if someone prioritizes love, for example, which cannot be measured, they would they would be able to choose anyone to love and anyone that makes that person happy without thinking whether or not that person brings them mutual benefit. Now, under their side of the house, people have no freedom whatsoever. People have no freedom whatsoever in their relationships, because every time they pick someone to be in a relationship, they have to think like whether or not this person mutually benefits me or not. And second, and also a harm under their side of the house is that vulnerable people like children, babies would be harmed and lose relationships, because just imagine if the parent thinks, okay, this baby that I have doesn't give me like mutual benefit. That means that I no longer have to like love this baby because this baby doesn't give me anything in return, right? And that is very harmful for the vulnerable people because they have no one caring for them and in a relationship with them. But second argument though, why it creates better mental health under our side. Now, why their side is worse, because under their side it would create people would have internal dilemma in which they cannot freely do what their heart desires. And because of that, they would have mental health issues, right? Because they have no freedom whatsoever. Because every time they want to choose someone in a relationship, they have these like certain standards and outside standards, and that restricts them. Now, why is the mental health important, right? Because other aspects of life are also contingent on your mental health, like your productivity, your physical health, your happiness, etc. And our lives are also interlinked, work with personal life. That is to say, like, if your personal life is troubled, so even if in the work life, in the office is very transactional between customer and business owner, but if you have other relationships, like your personal life is troubled with like internal dilemma, it will also bother your work life. Now, even if there is an imbalance of benefit between two parties, I think under our side, it's not exclusive, because under our side, people have the freedom to also opt out, because we give the freedom to the people. And for all of those reasons, very proud to oppose.
All right. To expand the case, I invite the Deputy Prime Minister.
I'm audible, right? Okay. Assuming I am, POI, just unmute, pronounce she, her, starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Clarification, and then to my cases, right? Well, firstly, I think they have lost this debate because they impose this debate into a so unurgent scenario. Firstly, having a relationship in business, for example, you need transactional relationship, because literally you are talking about economy and so no strings attached, right? Being friends is also transactional. I don't think you want to be friends with someone that just want to demand contact from you, right? So we think that the inherent thing for you to opt into a relationship is exactly this transactional relationship. And secondly, about charity is not a relationship. Literally, relationships is when you consented to mutually beneficial, when you want to take this connection further. And we think that a connection from a stranger to stranger like charity is not a relationship at all, right? So this point about you won't give charity to others false, right? Now, about babies and parents. As a reasonable person, you have a baby because you choose to bear this obligation in the first place. This is not a burden for us to prove as to why parents would not love their babies, because at least even if that parents don't love their baby, this is our worst case and an unreasonable case, at least parents will still benefit these children because they consented to have these children, right? So why do we want to play in a love scenario, and why this debate should be in a personal love relationship scenario? Because this is an urgency to begin with. Because notice as to how people are blinded with love. People don't see if their partner, for example, is beneficial to them, a mutual beneficial. Maybe one is toxic, maybe one is abusive. This is the most strategic case for opposition to bring to, right? Because they can brought about unconditional love, for example, and this is the most strategic way for them to debate this. So don't run away with this. Okay, few rebuttals. Happiness are unable to be measured. There will be a standard, and it gives mental health. I don't think you need to measure happiness, right? We got no implication, the harm of unable to measure happiness. There was no step by step. Secondly, even if we can't measure happiness, exactly we're unable to measure happiness, we say it's subjective. That's why we gave you the reasonings regarding subjectivity of mutually benefited on our mechanism. See, that's why we can also tackle the claim on people never consent to be born and mental health. Firstly, because if the concern is unprivileged, we can cater to them because of the subjectivity. And lastly, even if there is a mental health issue, then firstly, the question still remains, what if there is no narrative that gives the push and help for people under a toxic relationship to opt out from it? Because firstly, we have to realize when we support this narrative means we're going to literally encourage everyone to always have a relationship that benefits each other. And secondly, that means people will be willing to go out of harmful relationships and don't want to be stuck on it, because with the encouragement from others through social media and real life encouragement, for example, then your relationship is not beneficial, then opt out of it. So the opt-out mechanism of toxic relationship would be more visible on our side of the house. And now secondly, they told you that people have the freedom to choose who they want to be in a relationship. First of all, panel, we don't even contest choice, right? Literally, we also want choice and options for people's decision. But what's the difference? The difference is we have better choice. How? Because it's only good when, firstly, it isn't harmful, and secondly, it gives happiness and benefit. And the moment that both sides actually contest options, choice of people, then vote for our side. Why? Because that's where you ensure the choice of people when choosing relationship, of course, be beneficial and safe. But B, even if people don't have the freedom to choose under our side because there is a standard, then panel, it's fine. We never get any reasonings regarding why is it fine to opt into a relationship when, for example, you are not treated equally. That you are in a relationship when your partner do not treat you equally. That looks like only you doing all the work and your partner isn't appreciating you, for example. And lastly, at least there is an extent of relationship being sustainable when both parties are always appreciating others through mutually benefited. So their whole case falls. Now I'm going to go into the narrative where this debate is on a mutual relationship, right? We told you that we want to trade off this unconditional love because we say that people still have unconditional love in the first place because there are sparks in the beginning. But what's the difference is when the spark is gone, we actually can maintain the relationship because there's a commitment in the first place. But why is it justified to trade this off? We told you when you consented into a relationship, then you consent to be mutually beneficial in the first place. When you engage or marry someone, then you literally want to share your whole life with that person. And therefore, even if the spark is gone, you will actually be still benefited by your partner. Comparatively, your side is a world where you are only reliant on sparks, and that spark would keep your relationship going. But since we have characterized to you that your side would bear the harm when spark is gone, then when you don't have this narrative, you would see your other partner useless, for example, and you would easily just go out from the relationship. But why even transactional relationship like benefiting materially is okay and even better? We say it is okay because even if no strings attached, at least both sides are happy. This looks like if your partner pays you food, then you would have to pay the other meals as well. This is harmless, right? But the moment, even if the moment they don't feel benefited anymore, this is where communication would be better on our side because we have this standard on these certain people. Then the moment they don't benefit us to the current standard, then we will still have communication on our side of the house rather than just let it be because I love them for who they are, right? Now, about my extension that people will likely to have check and balance before opting into relationship. So we think that on your side, people will be reliant on their gut feeling or the start the moment they meet someone. And B, people neglect the fact that relationship needs to be beneficial instead and just unconditional love. This looks like when you would end up marrying someone that is more inferior to you. Even if opposition would say this is okay, at least you love them, this is untrue. This would give you an unsatisfied life because the expectation of a good relationship actually dies when this sense of spark dies out, when you see each other flaws and you realize that the partner you choose can't give you the satisfaction that you want and yet you expect, when you realize your family isn't fulfilling the need, your kids cannot get fulfilled school, for example, education, just because you are doing all the work and your partner is just slacking off. Your worst case is when you don't feel the same love anymore and you can't even sustain your life. The importance is when you want to find a partner in life, this narrative is important because in order for building a family, you need economic stability. And secondly, getting married, which is inherently a contract for you to devote your life for your partner, meaning you would need commitment. This looks like commitment, like even if people change, this commitment will die. Your commitment will be based on your children, for example. You will have to mutually benefit just for you to raise your children. We think that this is comparatively better than when you are just blinded by love, then you would only see that if the spark is gone or if the things that attach you together is gone, there's no use for the relationship anymore, right? And we say that the long-lasting relationship is better on our side, vote for proposition.
All right, thank you. Now I invite the deputy leader of opposition.
My name is Natasha, and my pronouns are anything you want, it's fine. My POI preference is just for you to go into chat, and I'll reply if I feel like it. Okay, starting in 3, 2, 1. Panels and judges. The reason why side proposition has already lost this debate is because they have a standard on how to love. They have a standard on when is it okay to start a relationship. They have a standard on why you should start a relationship, and that is when it's only beneficial. But sometimes love is, of course, unconditional. Maybe my first speakers were not that clear, but there was an underlying intention under there. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to go into rebuttals, and then I'll go into my extension. So first of all, you said that the relationship, even in SQ, they have the narrative of successful relationship is when they both are benefited. But I think this is untrue because most relationships start with one of the person running for the other. So in that scenario, a relationship starts because one side wants to benefit the other side until the other side eventually concedes, oh yeah, maybe we should start a relationship. They don't know how the relationship will go, but they will try it. But in your side, you will never even start a relationship because what they're first thinking of is, how are you going to be beneficial to me personally? How are you going to be beneficial? How are you going to be a good thing in my life? Rather than let's try this and let's see how it goes. So more relationship will start, and on their side, less relationship will start, and therefore less potential on having an eventually good relationship will be. And they said that this will promote a betterment of a healthy relationship. It will reduce the amount of toxic relationship existing. But I think this is untrue because first of all, you also conceded that yes, the standard of everything is different from everyone to every person. So in way of your logic, you'd say that maybe when there's a toxic relationship, let's say 2 persons, so one abuser and one being abused. So the abused person will think that, oh yeah, I'm being benefited from this, so that means I should stay in this relationship. But that's not the case because, this is actually the case because most person being abused, they don't realize that they're being abused. They don't realize that they're actually getting less on what they bargained for. And so therefore, in your side, it's actually more likely that toxic relationship will go on and on because now people think, oh yeah, I think I'm benefited, so yeah, I should still continue this relationship. Different from our side, when our side is that people will have a freedom to, they will have no standard of what an okay relationship is, how benefited we need to be. So now they can have more liberty on saying, oh yeah, maybe this isn't right, rather than your side where they have a standard already and now they need to concede to that standard. And another point of rebuttal is that the baby and parent argument. We said that it's both are beneficial because the parent also didn't do this and etc. But I think it's still unbeneficial for the baby because again, they didn't consent to being born, but now they have upon the standard they need in order for them to have a good relationship with their parents, they need to give something. No, thank you. I think it's in chat. Anyways, the reason for this is why this is untrue is because they didn't consent to being born, of course. So now the parent has more of the more guilt even. And next, I would also like to say that people will have a more freedom to choose in your side. But I think this is untrue because, as I've explained before, this will only give you a standard, and therefore you have more of a filtering. So more of a filter. Oh yeah, this guy is not good for me, so I shouldn't go with him because the standard says that he's not good enough. But that's not what relationship is about. Because sometimes relationship is about giving more than what you take. Because in a relationship, it's not always going to be balanced. It's going to be it's always going to be imbalanced. But the good thing about that, where in our side, is that eventually they will get benefited from both sides. But in your side, they will need to constantly be benefited. You will need to constantly prove yourself that you are worthy of their love. You need to prove yourself that you are worthy of instilling their love. Okay, so now on to my extensions. So first of all, the world will be worse because why is this true, panelists and judges? Because in their world, to start a decent relationship, they now need to be mutually beneficial. But what are the chances that most sides will be always beneficial on their side? Because on their side, when one side is just a bit off not beneficial, then they're just going to cut off the relationship entirely. And secondly, and to support one of the donators and donating, I think you are missing the point. It's not about a charity. It's more about giving it personally to a person, because you're building a connection with the person. That's what a relationship is. You're building connections. You're building some sort of bond with that person, even if it's just one little rope. When a donator gives money to a person who has none, then they're actually building a relationship. But in that relationship, they're not being benefited. They're only giving and not taking anymore. And we need this in this world. Like in this world, we need unconditional love. Maybe my first speaker was unclear about that, but that's clearly the underlying intent. And then secondly, even when they don't get anything, why is it still isn't toxic on our side? Because first of all, every relationship depends on a context, because you can just assume that, oh wow, now I'm not being benefited as much as the other guys being benefited. Now it's a toxic relationship. That's just not true at all, because in a toxic relationship, there are other standards to prove that it is a toxic relationship. So why isn't it a toxic relationship in our side? Because to make mutually beneficial, you have to have a standard to relation, a universal standard to relationship, and it's very hurtful for all the parties involved, because now they have something to pinpoint to, and now they can just bail out every time that standard isn't met. And now in our side, there's also no pressured love. Why? What does it mean? Because in your side, you need to count on how much love you need. But in our side, how much isn't important. All that matters is that you have the intent. Even if you don't actually bring anything to the table, the intent is still there. So even if in our side, the love is more or less, but it's way more genuine than your side, because in our side, the love can at least be genuine and not have an underlying message. Unlike your side, who, let's just say that a relationship can go both ways, right? So one side can just cheat on the other, and then they'll be beneficial with the third party, while the other ones are not beneficial. And with all of that reasons, my side is proud to oppose this motion. Thank you very much.
All right. Now, to summarize the case, I invite the government whip
audible? Check, am I audible?
Yes, you're audible.
A moment, please. Okay, if you want to do POI, just unmute yourself because I won't be looking at the chat box. Starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. 3 pieces of clarification. Firstly, we don't get why opposition always point out us, as this will only be a one-sided benefit, right? Because we stated clearly stated to you on how this will always be like mutually benefited, right? As what's stated in the context slide. But then secondly, if they stated some this is not important, right? The standard is not important, then what they want is a short-term relationship, which I'm going to explain to you later on. Thirdly, if opposition's concern is, the other partner cannot give benefit and they break up, then panel, we get no engagement on why is it so hard to give benefit towards your partner when it's subjective to every individual. But then secondly, it's really hard to buy this claim because they never give you the step-by-step analysis and also the contextualization so proud to propose. But then moving to my first clash, why do we have better choices? We have proven to you on how we can create a better loyalty, we can create better trust, and we can create better communication, which are going to impact into a better the marginal benefit is going to impact into a better relationship and healthier one, right? But then what we get in response, firstly, they stated on how our side do not support the freedom. First response, panels, we do not see why we are holding the freedom of people, we are holding the freedom of people, right? And why is it something happened under our side of the house? But then second response, if this is also untrue, right? Supporting this transactional benefit does not necessarily means you limit people anyway. The connotation of limiting the freedom is something that portrays that how this is so harmful, right? We create better freedom for people because you will have better qualification before they choose the perfect fit, right? This proves to you on how we can create a better choices for people. They can freely choose what they want. Why is this important, right? I think what makes relationship works and so on how they have the same value towards each other, right? What makes people feel benefited is the moment they feel like this person gives you the value that you need and vice versa. Exactly, panels. The moment they radiate or have different values, what will happen is on how they will hurt each other. For example, if you're dating a closeted person, exactly because they have different values, they cannot compromise to each other. What they will do is only hurting each other because one backlash, one do not want to be out and proud and will less likely claim the other half, but then one wants to proudly claim and wants to proudly show like they have significant other. Exactly this different values is something that we do not want. Exactly that's why we need standards, right? Because we want closure, we want satisfaction in relationship. That's what keeps you going. That's what keeps you looking towards each other. That's what will create a long-lasting relationship. Then what will happen under opposition is how less commitment will happen, right? Because commitment can only exist the moment these people feel satisfied with their relationship and they get what they want. But then also, they stated on how compromisation is something important, right? On how like you will love people unconditionally. Then we contest this, how compromisation can happen under your side of the house, right? Even if yes, compromisation is something that existing under your side of the house, we don't see their incentive to change, right? Even if compromisation exists, there's no incentive, then we don't see the use of this compromisation either, because we've proven to you on how compromisation could happen also under our side of the house regardless. But then they also talk about charity, right? First response, panels, we don't get why this is something relevant towards the debate, right? Secondary, people give charity exactly because the sense of relatability or because they're pity. They don't want to see people who are there giving charity to are suffering, right? Due to they are pity because due to the condition of people they wanted to donate to. But then thirdly, do you think you want to be in a relationship or be friends with someone exactly because of that sense of pityness, because of you pity someone, they don't have any girlfriend or boyfriend, they don't have any friends, you want to be friend with them? We don't think so, right? Exactly, because you have the standards, you have a better check and balances. Moving to my second clash, why we give better relationship. Panels, what did we get in response is on how they stated we cannot measure happiness and love. First response, we say this is untrue because individuals know the measurement of their happiness and fulfillment on their own. Literally, it's not the narrative who measures the happiness and benefits, it's the individual alone. They know what kind of traits, what kind of love language portrayed by their own partner could actually satisfy them and give them the
happiness that they strive for, right? And that looks like you choosing your own partner, whether you feel comfortable on, or that certain individual, for example. Second response, most people don't realize their abuse, so toxic relationship will go on our side because they realize they're benefited. Then first response, panels, this was very nitpicking for side opposition to say that an abusive partner will realize they're doing abusive action because being treated abusively because they're benefited, so they stay. Literally, if they know they're a toxic relationship, it's because they realize how there's no benefit at all on the relationship. There was no portrayal of what benefit there's no portrayal of what benefit that exists on the abusive relationship that side opposition mentioned. But then moreover, the reason why they don't realize their abuse is exactly because there is there's this narrative that makes them realize how abusive relationship exists, right? Under your side of the house, you will only rely on love that can create you a blindly attachment. It's on how people stated it's on how people neglect everything just to pursue love, which is something really bad, right? That just means just conceded to how most people do not realize on the abusive relationship. That's why judges go for government. But then second response, they told you on how children will be harmed, right? First, and how which also complies to my next responses. First response, panels, this is untrue, right? Because I believe that they will furtherly harmed under opposition, exactly because my previous speaker has told you, right? On how they will always succumb to their parents, because on how they're always thought that their parents are a good entity. They're always teach by their narrative that what parents do is always the best. Under our side of the house, we teach them not to succumb to this narrative, exactly to give people more check and balance to every relationship, not only parents and also children's relationship. But then moving on to my next response on how they stated on how people could easily opt out and realize where they're harmed and for whatever, right? First response, panels, we don't get why opposition is being dismissive towards our cases, right? We've proven to you, we've framed that on how blindly attachment is something that is really, really likely to happen. They haven't debunked it, but they choose to attack this anyway without any further explanation, right? Furtherly, but then even if yes, then this is likely going to happen under their side of the house. Panels will have already characterized on how people could be irrational to begin with. But then what furthermore could happen is also how people will have more dilemma to begin with, right? Exactly, because what people see as a virtue is staying in the relationship. What people see in a virtue is how you have to love people unconditional. Then we don't get why loving people unconditionally is something that should be something necessary the moment they do not be benefited, right? Thirdly, panels, even if yes, they will not get the closure they want, right? How is that so? Firstly, society will definitely blame them because not giving up from a relationship is seen as a virtue. For example, when you're stuck in an abusive household, right? Secondly, you will only blame yourself or even contemplate because because of the fear dilemma caused by the narrative. Opposition is only going to create a toxic relationship, right? And even if yes, they want to, and also this will only create on how a short-term benefits without commitment and a false sense of hope. So proud to propose.
Thank you. Now, to close the case, I invite the opposition reply.
Okay, am I audible?
Yes.
My preferred pronouns are she or her, and I would like my POIs to be spoken verbally. I'm starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. Panels, what we're trying to say is, love comes in a lot of forms, and relationships portray themselves in various ways. Most of these ways do not require the equal contribution of both sides for it to function, and most of these ways make it impossible for both parties to contribute equal shares, which I'll elaborate further later in my speech. 2 main reasons why side opposition has lost this debate. First, their side measures relationships based on benefits that they can clearly see or feel, such as money, which can be seen, or emotional support that can be felt. They mentioned that once we concede to be in a relationship, then we agree to benefit the other party. But not all relationships are able to be chosen, such as relationships with a parent, with a hospital caretaker, or with a group project partner. Your side can't simply assume that the relationships we're talking about here are romantic ones, since it wasn't explicitly stated in the motion. And even if romantic relationships are the ones taken into account, and this is still unjustified. I'm going to explain why in my second point. Second, they fail to realize that the people being in the relationships are the one we must protect the most. If you base a relationship off how much it benefits you instead of how happy you are, it would lose the essence of what relationships truly are. You can argue that what makes people happy is getting back what you've given, but in the long term, No, thank you. If you keep applying this concept, it would feel more like a burdening routine rather than a comfortable relationship. Doing this to the best of your might in order for the other party to not end this relationship would cause nothing but pain. Now on to my rebuttals. First rebuttal. Their aim is to prevent unhealthy or abusive relationships, but under their side, abuse and dissatisfaction is more likely to happen. Why? Two reasons. Take this illustration of an engaged couple. Their side supports the idea that both of them should equally benefit each other, and so that's what they did, or at least tried to do. When one of them feels like they're not being benefited enough, it would anger them and open more doors for verbal or physical abuse to happen. The less satisfied person would feel like their partner doesn't love them, since your side gloriously measures love by how much two parties benefit each other, right? They would pressure the other person and convince them to put more into their relationship, even if it's not within their capacity. Second rebuttal. Their side measures the quality of a relationship why their case falls. Love doesn't come when the love. I'm sorry, my internet connection is unstable. Never mind. In the second speaker's speech, it was mentioned that there will no longer be benefits when the spark of love is no longer there. And it actually implies that you're supporting our argument. Why is this true? For benefits to form and for both parties to be happy, we first need love. And without this fundamental requirement, relationships won't be able to form. Why is this important? If a relationship is based on nothing but upon how much it benefits you, it would be nothing more than a work agreement or a contract. And this is not the case with love, since love is a mutual feeling that appears in certain good circumstances involving both parties, leading them to develop feelings for each other. Now on to the clashes. First clash, about which side has better choices for people included in a relationship. They said that mutual benefit is the main consideration in a relationship, and centered their whole argument about people would feel stuck in a relationship or stay out of relationship entirely since they haven't found the person who can benefit them the most. Say, a situation where a man benefits you and is able to fund your needs, but you're unhappy being with him since he uses you for his own personal gain, as a toy, for example. For people out there with no clue how this relationship goes on the inside, it would look mutual since both of them give something equal. But for the people experiencing the relationship, it doesn't feel good, or only one side feels comfortable. And that's why our side is overall better, because we give the option for people to not require each other to give equal benefits. As our leader of opposition stated, in our world, if people think that they want to give back as much as they were given, then sure. But if they choose not to, then it's completely fine. Second clash. They stated that the benefits will grow loyalty and trust. And to this we say, yes, in the best case scenario, this is likely to happen. But in the worst case, where they feel pressured to give back, it's more likely that they will choose to end the relationship abruptly. Our side doesn't base everything on benefits, but it doesn't mean we base relationships on absolutely nothing either. We can see that relationships shouldn't be formed out of nowhere, and this is why relationships are important, holy things that needs to be put lots of thoughts into. There are factors that should be taken into consideration, such as the state and capability of both parties to love and feel comfortable with each other, which is way more important and that should be put above benefits. Lastly, the analogies we use along the way were simply to describe various types of relationships in status quo, such as the charity analogy or the parent analogy. The statement you made about children treating their parents as beings who are always right and overly succumbing to them is also likely to happen under their side, but it manifests itself in different ways, like how I explained earlier during the first clash. The possibility of one party feeling stuck is likely under both sides, so this is why their argument falls. Panels. This is why our side has won this debate overall. We provide more freedom of choice and more options of happiness for people under our side, and that is why you should vote for opposition. Proud to oppose.
Thank you. Now I invite the government reply. Once again, I invite the government reply.
I think the
Sorry,
opposition
it's
reply.
supposed to be opposition reply first. So yeah, for opposition reply, I'll call upon Natasha. The floor is yours. Hello, Natasha.
Yeah. Anyways, my name is Natasha, and pronouns anything is fine. So I'm going to start in 3, 2, 1. Panels and judges. I think it's simple what both sides want. It's that we want a good relationship. We want a relationship that is reliable. We want a relationship that will be better off in a sense. So what did the preposition mean? What did the preposition miss in their whole debate? They are very narrow on their explanation. First of all, they never really branched out of their romantic bubble. They only really, all of their arguments are specifically tailored to support the romantic type of relationships. And they never really explored other types of relationships, which we did. And secondly, we explained again and again that secondly, to support the other statement, that the only thing they replied to our parent and child argument was that they said, okay, the parent already consented to this, to them sacrificing more of their child. But it contradicts with their own case, because this means that the young child has to sacrifice just as much as the parent does for the relationship to really be called good on their side. And now, secondly, the idea of subjective love is contradictory on their side, because like we said, when you now have a standard for love subjectively, you have now a chance of rising that standard or lowering that standard. And in the case of toxic relationships, sometimes your standards are just that, they're very low because you're in a toxic relationship, and that's just the aftermath of being in a toxic relationship. And now you're more likely to feel that, oh yeah, this is enough and this is beneficial enough. And thirdly, in our side, there is more of a chance of good acts being done unconditionally, just like donating or just like volunteer work to a relationship to your whole community, let's say. And why is this more so? Because now they don't need an incentive. They don't need the idea of, yes, this needs to benefit me in order for me to benefit you either. So on their side, more people will less likely go into these works because they feel that like they are not benefited. And now for the clashes, the first clash is that which side creates a more better relationship setting by making a more sustainable and generally happier relationship. So first of all, what really made them lose? The thing they said that this whole case is on the condition that the relationship needs to go smooth and they need to benefit each other at all times. So first of all, they're conceding of people, they concede that people leaving a relationship if their partner can no longer provide them with as much benefit. But sometimes that's not the case, because sometimes you can't benefit the other all the time. So with that statement, the relationship is more likely to fall, even if it's a good relationship, right? And secondly, the sustainability. Even if it's not toxic, people won't fight for the relationship and make it better, even if they get named for it in the process. They just give up very easily because now they think, yes, this is not up to par. I just need to get out of here and start another one that benefits me in the same way that I benefit them, or something like that. And now, what made us win in the end of the day? First of all, relationships are not like the people in fight marriages. They make each other unhappy. Even friends have arguments that are bumpy roads. And in this case, you're not really benefiting each other, right? You're actually making the other sad and making each other emotionally damaged. But the relationship still goes, because in our side, they just need to know the intent. They just need to know that, yes, you actually love me, even though you don't benefit me right now, I know you will. That's the main point of our side. And with all this, therefore, a lot of their clashes fall in this argument. And with this, we are proud to oppose. Thank you very much.
All right. Now, I invite the government reply.
Okay, starting my speech in 3, 2, 1. They literally shift their whole case in the second speaker, meaning they concede that the PM speech is fully rebutted, right? And secondly, unclear stance, unclear counter-narrative means unclear urgency at all. Because firstly, literally, what they said was firstly about choice, which we have. We still have the choices of people. They want to have this transactional relationship, or they want to just up into the relationship just blindly because they are in love. Secondly, about attention, which can also exist on our side because we also have love. And thirdly, and the rest of their case is negative case, right? They only wanted to show how harmful our case was without giving you any positive case. We don't get their benefit or mechanization. Two clashes then. Firstly, which side gives better choice? Secondly, which side can give you a better relationship? In this first clash, which side gives better choice? We have told you that about the principality that opting into a relationship means you literally consented to be mutually benefited because you would want to share your whole life with that someone. And secondly, choice or relationship on our side is just, and it's still available. We still create choice on our side, right? And we say why our proposal is justified, because when you opt into marriage, when you engage with someone, of course, there are conversations would be happening. But the difference is we would prioritize this transactional love because you know that you will share your whole life with this person, right? And about their concern about people's freedom. We don't take people's freedom to choose their partner in relationship. We are sorting a relationship that is beneficial to us, that can support you till the end. Choices would be comparatively better because we told you we have check and balances in the first place, because you would see that if this person would benefit me, if this person would actually, it's not just me would carry this relationship. We think that this is still better on our side. Right? We want freedom that actually benefit you and not be harmful to you. And secondly, they told us about it's better for you to give more than what you take, meaning they champion for unconditional love. But firstly, this is untrue. Our relationship can be justified when it isn't harmful. Secondly, it gives happiness and benefit. Then they told you about the essence of love, but we don't get what is the essence of love and what is the impact of it. You can't win this point because it's just an assertion. Now they are still concerned to the end of the speaker about parent and child. This is so irrelevant from this debate because you can't expect a baby to make money in the end, right? Because why parents want to have child is okay, even if we concede that parents expect to your child, but it doesn't mean when parents want to expect your child to make money in a really young age. Please be rational. And now lastly, about charity, this is irrelevant. We're not talking about this in this motion, but charity is for people that feel pity. We can't see those people in the relationship. But even if you want to base your relationship out of this pittiness, this is already problematic to begin with, because firstly, you carry the relationship, and secondly, you would just neglect your life for this person without any seeing enlightenment or benefit that you would get. So in this first clash, we won, right? So second clash, which side can give you better relationship? We have told you that we would have better relationship because there is check and balance first. Secondly, we give a long-lasting relationship because we have told you that we are not just going to contingent with spark, but when the spark is gone, we still have this commitment. And lastly, we create an opt-out mechanism of toxic relationship. This is more visible on our side. And they told, and what do we get in response? They told you that we can't measure happiness and love. The individuals is the one who determine your happiness. But our side is comparatively better because happiness can be found when your partner gives you gifts and then he gifts you back, for example, and then you get this some sort of, it's not just you who carrying this relationship. And secondly, they told you that standard is not important. If what they want is to have a sustainable relationship, then you need to consideration, because these standards ensure each other that they are considering for a long-term relationship. This could bring more commitment because they see that this relationship gives them closure and going to be long-term. Hence, more trust could exist exactly because how they see the commitment coming from each other. And also they told you, its time is up. So that is from my reply, how to propose.
All right. Thank you, everybody that has participated in this debate. Now, all of you may turn off your camera, and while we wait for the educator make his and her decision, I would like to thank our sponsors, which this competition could have not been possible without their support. shout out kepada Binus University, PT Sinarmas Tbk, kini buka tabungan, nggak perlu ke bank lagi. Kini buka tabungan, nggak perlu ke bank lagi. Prosesnya mudah banget loh, 100% online lewat aplikasi SIMOBI Plus. Dengan buka tabungan Bank Sinarmas secara online, kamu bisa dapatkan e-voucher Alfamart senilai Rp50.000. Selain nabung secara digital, kamu bisa beli pulsa, top up e-wallet, bayar jajanan pakai QRS, dan beli e-voucher dengan harga diskon dari banyak brand toko dan resto favorit kamu. Nah, dengan terus menggunakan SIMOBI Plus, kamu juga bisa menikmati gratis transfer antar bank dan promo undian harian berhadiah e-voucher belanja hingga Rp1 juta dari program Lucky Dip Hip Hip Hore. Banyak banget keuntungannya kan? Tunggu apa lagi? Download SIMOBI Plus sekarang dengan scan barcode yang ada. Kunjungi bit.ly/SIMOBI Plus. S besar, P besar. Nikmati kemudian atur keuanganmu lebih mudah dan lebih pintar dengan SIMOBI Plus. I would also like to thank our sponsor, PT Eurocars Motor Indonesia. With shout out to the social media, Instagram @mazda_id, PT Temposcan Pacific, PT Howden, shout out kepada Twitter PT Howden, @Howden_Indonesia, Instagramnya @Howden.id, Facebook page dan LinkedIn page Howden Insurance Brokers Indonesia. Shout out kepada Just Into dan shout out kepada PT Sayap Mas Utama. Nah, siapa yang sudah nggak kangen ketemu teman-teman pada saat Canisius Cup? Pasti kangen tanding langsung, kangen nonton pertandingannya secara langsung kan? Biarpun kita sudah mulai PTM, sayang banget kita harus tetap sekolah online. Nah, bagi teman-teman yang ada di sekolah, kami mau ingetin lagi nih untuk tetap jaga protokol kesehatan ya, supaya nantinya CC bisa kita lakukan offline. Nah, jangan lupa juga pakai hand sanitizer dan cuci tangan, pakai masker, jaga jarak, dan tentunya pakai disinfektan ya teman-teman. Aku mau kenalin nih disinfektan yang bagus banget namanya, WIZ24. Nah, WIZ24 ini sudah terbukti secara klinis mampu membunuh 99,9% virus, bakteri, dan jamur, termasuk SARS-CoV-2 dan human coronavirus. Dan dengan teknologi anti-guard ini, WIZ24 aktif membunuh virus dan bakteri di permukaan selama 24 jam. Tinggal semprot, lalu lap, meja dan kursi teman-teman terlindungi selama 24 jam. Kita jadi #terlindungi sepanjang hari. Tunjukin seberapa kangen dan pengennya kamu ketemu teman-teman dan nonton Canisius Cup bareng. Tetapi tetap #terlindungi sepanjang hari dengan WIZ24 via Instagram story kalian. Dan tag teman-teman kamu yang kamu kangenin dan juga Instagram WIZ24 @WIZ24 disinfektan dan Instagram CC. 10 orang terbaik hari itu akan memenangkan 1 paket perlindungan WIZ24. Udah seharian kita seru-seruan nonton pertandingan ya. Udah mulai lapar. Belum nih. Udah lapar belum kalian teman-teman? Saya udah lapar sih. Pengen yang sedapnya juara. Biar berasa jadi juara juga. Apa ya? Siang-siang gini, sambil nonton gini, enaknya yang simple ya. Dan karena kita juga masih mau semangatin teman-teman, tanding biarpun dari rumah, kita butuh sesuatu yang bikin semangat. Yang bisa bikin jerit. Makan mie sedap, cup ayam jerit, ya deh. Duh, udah gak sabar pengen makan. Rasa kuah ayam pedas, mie yang kenyang, ditambah sama rawit. Bikin seger. Benar-benar. #Juara mie pakai rawit. Caranya mudah, cara buatnya. Nikmat, sedapnya makin juara. Setelah makan mie sedap, cup ayam jerit-jerit. Kita pasti jadi makin semangat, nyemangatin teman-teman kita jadi juara. Tunjukin seberapa pengen kamu mau cobain mie sedap cup ayam jerit. Dengan menunjukkan bagaimana sebelum dan sesudah cobain #Juara mie pakai rawit. Mie sedap cup ayam jerit. Yang sedapnya makin juara di IG story kamu dengan men-tag @mie-sedap-cup AA. Dan serta juga Instagram CC. 10 orang dengan reaksi terbaik akan mendapatkan mie sedap cup ayam jerit dari Mie Sedap. Shout out juga kepada PT Lestari Jaya Raya, PT Lestari Jaya Raya, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube @LJR Logistik. Website juga lgrlogistik.com. PT Adi Sarana Armada Tbk, shout out juga kepada PT Sumber Alvaria Trijaya Tbk, dan juga serta PT Kurnia Mitra Duta Sentosa Tbk. Nah, PT Kurnia Mitra Duta Sentosa Tbk, KMDS, adalah one-stop solution for beverage need. Selain menyediakan bahan baku minuman seperti sirup, kopi, teh, bahan baku boba, premix powder, Kurnia Mitra juga merupakan beverage consultant yang membantu customer dalam recipe making, cost analysis, dan product knowledge. Jadi, untuk yang mau buka kafe, restoran, atau warung, Kurnia Mitra punya produk yang pasti sesuai dengan kebutuhan atau konsep customer. Tersedia berbagai produk Kurnia Mitra seperti Morning Syrup, Lavazza Coffee, Milk Lab, Boba King, Easy Powder, Santino Coffee. Cek juga IG-nya @KMDS Flavors. Shout out juga kepada RS Premier Bintaro. Yuk, follow dan subscribe media sosial RS Premier Bintaro. Follow Instagramnya @RSPremierBintaro. Bintaro. Subscribe ke YouTube channelnya RS Premier Bintaro. Like Facebook page-nya RS Premier Bintaro juga. Biar kamu bisa mendapatkan informasi terbaru tentang kesehatan kamu, orang tua kamu, atau orang-orang yang kita kasihi, dan update tentang kegiatan-kegiatan seru RS Premier Bintaro. Jangan lupa ya guys. That's all for the sponsor. Thank you.
Our sponsors for SESECUP for supporting this event, who without them, this event would never bear fruit. I would like to thank and give a shout out to PT Sayap Mas Utama, Sinarmas, Jasindo, Howden, PT Eurocars Motor Indonesia, PT Tempo Scan Pacific Tbk, Binus Universitas, RS Premier, PT Lestari Jaya Raya, PT Adi Sarana Armada Tbk, PT Kurnia Mitra Duta Sentosa Tbk, PT Sumber Alvaria Trijaya Tbk, Milan Seramik, PT Surya Tata Alam Raya, PT Supra Primatama Nusantara Bisnet, UOB Trophy Fish, PT Beton Pracetak Karton, QT Sense, Hot Dog Boy, Indo Cement, PT SBA, Scientist Education, Sinotif, PT Tos Omega Selaras, PT Santini Luansa Lestari, TAF, PT Multisarana Medika, Sheraton Belitung Resort, BCA, dan PT PGAS Solution. Once again, I would like to thank all of our sponsors who has helped us and given support throughout the entire competition. And now, for the announcement for third place, it will be held in the closing of SESA Cup. So everyone here may leave the Zoom, and thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for the debate.
Tabungan yang 100% dilakukan secara online. Download aplikasi SMAK Plus. Registrasi dan verifikasi data diri secara lengkap. Terus tinggal selfie deh. Banyak keuntungan menariknya loh. Lebih mudah, lebih pintar dengan SMAK Plus. Download sekarang. Bank Sinar Mas, biasakan sekarang, luar biasa nanti.
Vitamin C 1000 Total Care. Kini dengan buffer vitamin C 1000 mg, vitamin D3 dan zinc bantu jaga daya tahan tubuh. Sekarang ada Vitamin C 1000 less sugar dengan kalori lebih rendah. Boost immune, stay fit, stay active. Vitamin C 1000 Total Care.
Plus, siap menggantikan cairan tubuh yang hilang dengan 7 ion lengkap mudah diserap dari Wingsfood.
Aku cinta mie sedap ayam bakar limau baru. Sedapnya next level.
Virus kuman bakteri cepat menyebar. Baru, WIS 24 Disinfektan dengan Actigar bunuh kuman bakteri jamur. WIS 24 Disinfecting Spray and Clean. WIS 24 Disinfektan Spray Surface and Air. Baru, WIS 24.
Jar Logistik memiliki 7 layanan dan coverage area logistik di seluruh Indonesia. Jar Logistik, we are faster and better.
Namun kau hanya diam tersenyum kepadaku.
Dipersembahkan oleh Asuransi Jasa Indonesia.
Alfamart, belanja puas, harga
Bimbel spesialis matematika fisika kimia, Sinotif tempatnya.
Kami memperkenalkan Toyota Finance. Make it yours.
Kamu bisa buka tabungan.